Okay, straight to the point. I have a couple things written down. I'm gonna go through them, but I haven't really seen like a great video going over all the connected, like how the series has evolved from Demon Souls to Elden Ring. Um, I won't be touching on Sekiro and Bloodborne, but this is pretty much. I am in the belief that the Elden Ring is pretty much fulfilling the vision for Demon Souls. So there's a direct kind of universe um, uh, crossing on that line. Bloodborne is a little bit like out of the way, and Sekiro is completely its own thing. So yeah, I already recorded a 2 hour video of me talking about this thing, but I'm gonna be making this a little bit more streamlined and gonna get straight into the points of things. So I recently played through Demon Souls. I'm gonna be showing you some pictures. Just bear with me. Um, yeah, this is my character. I recently played through Demon Souls and I had a blast. The way that I've played the games, I started from Dark Souls 1, played prepared the Die edition. Then when the remastered came out, I played that one. The prepared the Die edition, I didn't finish like straight off. I picked up the game and I got frustrated. I was so young at the time, I didn't really understand the game. Then thanks to my brother, I really got back into the game because of the remastered too. It just felt so much cleaner, and then it became one of my favorite games ever. And then I played Dark Souls 3 after it had been out for probably like a year or two. I didn't enjoy it that much. I enjoyed it because of Dark Souls 1 and how the world was kind of like directly connected. Then around that time, I also got introduced to Dark Souls 2. I had a friend who actually preferred it over Dark Souls 1 and 3, and I was just super curious what the game is about. And online, Dark Souls 2 is like regarded as the worst one, right? Um, so yeah, I was really intrigued. I picked it up and I like immediately just gave up on it. I did not like the experience at all. Mm. Then Elden Ring came out. I played through that, and then the DLC. Um, I fucking loved it. I almost have more hours that in Elden Ring that I have in Dark Souls 1. But it's like when you compare these games, they are so different um, that they cannot necessarily be compared. You wouldn't necessarily compare your favorite movies in a way, or your favorite books. The games deliver a different thing. It's a different experience altogether. But there are certain objective things um, that the games do better, and they have evolved. There are like when I experience something, and I trust my own sense of experiencing something as like this didn't feel good, so it's kind of as close to objective, uh, like good design or whatever. So I guess that prefaces this video a little bit. Um, right. Playing through Dark Souls, yeah. So started with 1, then went to 3, then Elden Ring, then 2, and now Demon Souls. The people, I just want to say this. People say that Dark Souls 2 isn't really connected into the Souls series. I would say that it's the most similar to Demon Souls. And people just they somehow either they haven't played Demon Souls or whatever, and that's where the disconnect just like kind of comes from. Okay, we've gone through the first chapter of the video. Let's start from how Demon Souls teaches you the game. How do you learn the basics of the game, basically the structure of everything. This is the spoiler. So okay, I'm gonna be. I expect that you have played these games previously, or are familiar with the Souls genre. I won't be explaining everything. I will, and there will be spoilers I will be talking about. NPC quests line couples how but mainly the general idea is how the concepts have evolved. And if I didn't mention it already, I think Elden Ring is fulfilling the original vision for Demon Souls in many ways, and I'm going to be explaining that throughout the video. So, okay, how does the game explain itself to you? What's the language? How is it being conveyed to the player experiencing it? The level design, I'd say how the game opens up to you. So we think of the games like branching out the level design and the game design as like a hand, and there are like different stages when you get to the palm and you get to spread out from the fingers, right, to the like different goals. All of these games have like different areas and different bosses. Basically, that's the Souls genre, kind of a Metroidvania. And Demon Souls and I'd say like all of the games have that sort of structure, but like some games are more linear than others, so the structure is not that easy to notice. But it's very noticeable once you have experienced every game and just like know where to look. So in Demon Souls, you start the game, you go to the through the tutorial, you die to the tutorial boss, or you kill him or whatever. You get teleported to the Nexus, which is the main hub, and from there you go to the world 1-1. So it has this like a Super Mario level type of level thing where you just go from portal to the world, and then there are like different checkpoints within that. So it's divided into 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. So in terms of linearity, up until that point, you're supposed to, or kind of you're forced to complete 1-1, and then you get sent back to the Nexus after the first boss, which this is probably, I would say, 45 minutes to an hour into the gameplay. If this is your first time playing the game, or this style of the game, it'll probably take you a little bit longer. At that point, the game opens up. You can go to any place or any archstone and to start climbing through the fingers to the main bosses, basically. So you go to Boletaria Palace, and then you go back to Nexus, and then it unlocks, and now you can go anywhere. So the game is kind of like it's not an open world, but it's a Metroidvania. You get revealed the different options. Dark Souls 1. It does this with the Northern Undead Asylum. You go to Firelink Shrine, you kill the first boss, you get your equipment, and then you're off. And then you have 3 paths that you can follow. So already in Dark Souls 1, you're directly here. And I'm going to be getting into why Dark Souls 1, or rather Elden Ring and Dark Souls 1 teaches the player the best in ways. But yeah, let's get to that in a minute. Dark Souls 2, you spawn, you go through things betwixt, you create a character, you run to Majula, and now you have 2 branching paths, pretty much, and then it's just whatever. Dark Souls 3 is linear as fuck. You go through the main area, and then you're in Firelink Shrine, and you have to teleport to the High Wall of Lothric. Elden Ring, you get out of the Stranded Graveyard, you go from, you spawn into the Chapel of Anticipation, you die to the Grafted Shion or kill him, and then you fall off the cliff. Then you start from the Stranded Graveyard, you go from there, the first step, and the world opens up to you. And that's pretty much, Elden Ring is different because it's an open world. And this whole topic ties to the point of how does the game tell you where to go, and this is where the biggest evolution of things has happened between Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1. And here it comes. The first world, you can go through 1-3, I think, to the almost the last checkpoint, and then there's a wall pretty much. So you're forced to with instead of going to the index, like the nail of the index finger, you're forced to go to visit the other ones. Sorry, my nose is super itchy. I have no idea why. So from there, you hit a brick wall, quite literally. It's a magic brick wall, and then you start branching out other places, and you probably go to 2-1, which is Stonefang Tunnel. And in Stonefang Tunnel, the game tells you that you need magic. If you don't have magic, you're just gonna be like, well, I guess I don't have magic, and then you're gonna go through the place. How I experienced it, I went through 2-1, 2-2, no, 2-2. I killed the armor spider, which is the first boss in that area. And it was a pain in the ass. I didn't have any magic, so I just fucking brute forced it. And I got to the flame lurker boss, and the environment is telling you that you're not supposed to be here in a way, but you can go through it. It's not as difficult as going through the catacombs in Dark Souls 1. We'll be getting to that. So you can, the enemies are super passive. You can run past them. There are a couple enemies that block your way, but it's nothing that bad. But yeah, when you get to the flame lurker, which is the checkpoint after that is the 2-3, second to last checkpoint, you realize that you cannot damage it if you don't have magic, and it's probably way too difficult for you even if you have magic. So at that point, you are so deep in the cave system, and this is like a mining system. So you're in the caves, you have no fucking idea how to get back. There's like a legitimate maze there, and now you have tons of souls, and I felt frustrated when I got to the point in the game that tells me that, oh, you're not supposed to be here yet. So you just have to go backtrack all the way and start looking for another route or whatever. And that's like 2-3 hours into the game, for me at least it was. Dark Souls 2 doesn't really tell you that in it doesn't really have the same design as it's straight open. You have the two paths, and the most difficult area, which is it's the giant well, the what's it called? Not the depths. It's the sewage area right under Majula. You can't really go there yet, because it's locked away from fall damage. You have there are like different levels to the tube, and you're supposed to make it to the bottom. And if you jump, you don't, at the start of the game you don't have enough HP, so you're just gonna fall and die, pretty much like this. And yeah, it's both of the Forest of the Fallen Giants doesn't have the more difficult route. It's pretty much, it's as easy as Heidi's Tower of Flame. And yeah, in Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2 rather, you get levels on them in such a pace that it doesn't really matter which way you go. You will get enough levels so that you will outlast the second till the second checkpoint. And it's the checkpoint system is, or rather the checkpoint threshold in Dark Souls 2 is way shorter than in Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1. Yeah, so Dark Souls 2 doesn't necessarily teach that like enemies are, that you're not supposed to kill this enemy right then and there. There are a little bit like less subtle, or like more subtle hints. I guess the big ogres are in that way, like in things betwixt. You see this like monstrous enemy, and you're like it's just like it chews your head off, and then you're like, well, I'm probably not supposed to be here. So that there's like a different design philosophy to that. But yeah, Dark Souls 2 also, it gives out small hints, like it leaves out those like smaller like quests that you're supposed to come back here later. Then there are like more of those than in the other games. Dark Souls 3 at the straight when you spawn, there's the in the stranded graveyard again. I can't remember. Is it like secluded graveyard or whatever? There's the giant crystal lizard. It's not impossible to kill it straight off the bat, but it's like the branching path goes like this, and then the lizard is here. It's not impossible to kill it. Let's zoom out here. Funny. Yeah, and that it kind of like it teaches you the same thing that some enemies are like better to be left for later stages, but it's not necessarily. I love that. I love the way that Dark Souls 1. Did I go past Dark Souls 1? I think I did. Dark Souls 1, there's the catacombs, which the skeletons will kick your ass if you go that way, and that's like legitimately the best way to teach the player that some areas are better left off. And the graveyard is so close to the Firelink Shrine that you're kind of guided that way, but it's guided in the way that it like leaves a mark in your mind that you're supposed to come back here later. And when you go underground, it's dark and there are ghosts, and you're like, what the fuck, I can't even damage these. And if you manage to find one of the hands or the curse marks or whatever, and you fight the ghosts, if you put one and one together, then you realize that you cannot even deal enough damage to kill them. So that's obviously a second place. You cannot necessarily progress. And then, well, if you have the key, you go to Valley of the Drakes. There's Blighttown there, and then you have these like hulking brutes with the giant clubs, which is not very welcoming, and they poison you and whatnot. So you're like, fuck this, I'm not gonna go that way. And Valley of the Drakes, there are drakes that will like block the path. So realistically, you only have when you start in the game, you only have Undead Parish, and that's pretty much it's scaled nicely. The enemies are few and further between. They're your size, they're player size. They're like undead hollows or whatnot. In Elden Ring, you spawn, you get to the first step. Limgrave opens up, and you see this golden steed walking on the hill next to the church, and it's a giant knight with a halberd and a shield. And the curious mind of us humans will be like I wonder how tough that enemy is. I've killed these like normal bosses, this like Soldier of Godric, which I wanna give the props of actually like making that in making that into a boss where you see the boss health bar, because that kind of teaches you how to focus differently when it's like a one-on-one boss situation. So that's cool. But yeah, you've only killed enemies that are your scale pretty much. And then when you see this like massive horse riding knight, it's kind of obvious that it's probably going to kick your ass. And then the level design is also it's a massive open field, and there are like shrubberies and bushes wherever you can easily go around it, and it doesn't pose a threat. But it's so close to the first area that it will be kind of a instant mark in your mind that I should probably go back at some point and try to see that. So yeah, in a way, Dark Souls 2, 2, 3, and Elden Ring teaches the player the same way, the progression where you're supposed to go. They show this like massive enemy, and that poses a big enough threat that the player is dissuaded from fighting them. Right. Then I guess the second thing I want to touch upon is the vision. This goes a little bit more into kind of the specifics of the vision between the games. So Demon Souls, you fight in, or the world is portrayed by that the humans live there. Um, there's this magic thing that derives from the demons, and the demons are afraid of it, kind of. So it's this like make or break element. And the world has fallen under the control of these demons, and humans are existing alongside them, and the world is not necessarily that like completely destroyed and decrepit as in Dark Souls 1. And I love that the world of Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls are kind of different in that way. Dark Souls 1 is a direct sequel, or not necessarily direct sequel, but it's a spiritual successor to Demon Souls, and you can completely see that they used so many of the same things. Like pretty much every single animation that you can find in Demon Souls is in Dark Souls 1. Plus, they made them smoother. They added a bunch of other ones that didn't exist, so they built up on it, on the things. Actually, I'm gonna make a mark. Level design, boss design, difficulty. Right. Yeah. Elden Ring. I mean, Elden Ring and Demon Souls share a design aspect in the way that the humans are living alongside the demons, and Elden Ring is a little bit less obvious, or like less in your face about that. But in both games, it's the main theme of the humans actually still being humans, and then their lords. For example, in Elden Ring, the first big boss that you kill of Stormvale Castle, spoiler, is Godric, and his minions are humans still, and it's like the soldiers of Godric. Those aren't regular people, right? In Demon Souls, the soldiers that you kill, those are also humans. There are the dregs that, or the ghouls or whatever, that are like some sort of a demi human like kind of slave species or whatever. But yeah, the soldiers that you kill are human. They are normal people, but you can see how how like depressed they are. They don't have eyes in the same way that like the player character has. Like their faces are like obscured by this like darker shadow from the helmets and whatnot. And then you can see that the demons have such an interesting effect on the people. So there's in the castle, Boletaria Palace, there's the king in the castle, and then and it's ruling the place, but he's gone so he's gotten so disconnected from the rest of the place that these like corrupt officials, called the fat officials, which are these like disgusting hat wearing. This is actually the hat is from one of those. Yeah, so the government is like completely corrupt, and the demons are living alongside the humans, but the humans are oppressed to the point that they're pretty much just like cannon fodder, and you are a human killing other humans. So that's fun. But in Dark Souls 1, they kind of did away with this. I think it was from like how I feel, that is it probably makes the player feel more desolate, and a little bit less disconnected from the world in that way that normally a human, it doesn't make sense that you're just fucking slaughtering people like in the thousands and not being like normally people are sympathetic. They would be like stop fighting, like I want to be your friend, and like why do I have to do this all the time? So you cannot argue with like a undead zombie type of a weapon, so type of an enemy. So it makes that kind of a thing more easy, and it really, the games tell a different kind of a story, and there's more time has passed with the pretty much the cycles of the timeline. Dark Souls 1, there's already been a bunch of cycles of the lords of the fire being rekindled, um, and the world is pretty much the humanity is driving so thin that and the embers are like flowing in the air and everything. It feels the world feels like it's dying. In Demon Souls, you find these areas that are pretty much like they've been abandoned for a long time, but it hasn't been that long time. You know, the Castle Boletaria is still up and standing. It's not in ruins. It's in a good shape. Um, yeah, nothing is like that overgrown. I guess like the places that like really like Tower of Latria, that is like what the fuck happened there? That's like legitimately disturbing in its design. Um, yeah, and then also like Dark Souls 2, I love the environment of Dark Souls 2 because it's kind of derivative from Dark Souls 1 and not so much from Demon Souls, but there's this like kind of a um fresh world. Actually, it is kind of also blending the 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 theme of Demon Souls having this like decrepit king who lost its mind and now it's wandering in the dark tomb. Spoilers. And it's pretty much but it throws a twist where it's not a demon necessarily who manipulated him to go mad. It's the essence of the first human. It's like a shard of the soul of Manus from Dark Souls 1 that corrupted the queen Najka, I think, and then she overthrew the king, and now the whole world has sunken into this like state of despair. Um, so yeah, Dark Souls 1 is derivative of Demon Souls, but it's different. I love the way they didn't make a direct sequel. I love the way that they used the design aspects and made a completely different world. You can pretty much see Dark Souls series, Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring having the same exact gap between them, kind of. Um, right. The Yeah, and going back to like Berserk, which is the, the the manga by Kentaro Miura, which I have read, and there are a bunch of these like mystical values and ideas that like the manga and the anime series share with the Soul series. It's not a secret, but it's so cool seeing these like giant elements and the key core elements of Berserk being so like brought to life in a video game environment in these games. The Yeah, in Berserk, the one of the main characters, Griffith, goes turn my table goes through a rough time. He pretty much wants to become a king, and he falls ill through. Well, he gets tortured for like a year, and he's pretty much a corpse. And his like dying wish is he pretty much sacrifices all his friends and the band of the Hawk to the demons to become a demon king himself. And then there's like he fulfills his dream of become like uniting the kingdom under this like one rule, and there's this like mystical utopia land. And it's also very cool how you see the same element of the player character seeing a castle in the sky. And for example in Demon Souls you see the vision of you see the Boletaria palace up in the like over the wall in some certain spots, and at the end of the game you are in the highest tower and you can see the whole area. One more point. NPC quest. Yeah. In Elden Ring it's the Stormvale Castle and the Earth Tree all the time. Dark Souls 1 it's Anor Londo and whatever Anor Londo is the first thing you see in the cutscene and whatnot, so it's like that it's there. Dark Souls 2 you can see different tower, like Heidi's Tower of Flame. You can see the Dragon Lake Castle in the background. So there's always the idea that there is somewhere where you have to go, and it's not only there to be like a goal post. It's also about this like dream of like, you know, completing the game. Kind of rounded statement there. Yeah, and in Dark Souls 3, there are these like different landmarks, and the it's pretty much the same as Dark Souls 1. What's next? Level design. Dark Souls, or rather Demon Souls. Let's start with that one. The Dark Souls genre, as in like a good Metroidvania type of game. I loved how Demon Souls gave you, or how it pioneered the what's it called, the formula of, well, it didn't really pioneer it, but maybe in 3D and in the Souls, like, it's one of the crowning achievements is the level design. How you have these checkpoints, but in between the checkpoints you have a shortcut that aids you in going from one checkpoint to the second, the pinnacle of the checkpoint, and then you get the checkpoint after the boss fight. The Dark Souls 1, I think, does this the best in the classical formula. Dark Souls 2 has so many checkpoints, or rather the areas are larger, but you have checkpoints that you can go between, and very rarely you have a shortcut that actually benefits the player in the way, because you don't really have to backtrack that all that much in Dark Souls 2, and in Dark Souls 3 there's even less of backtracking, so you don't get to enjoy the spoils of doing the small loop and then like the world opening up for you. Dark Souls 1 gets away with actually gets to enjoy the spoils. That's why it's so satisfying in Dark Souls 1 when you go to Undead Parish. You go through the loop over the wall, kill the boss, the Taurus demon. You go back to the bonfire in the tower, or in the support beams of the bridge, and then you kick down the ladder, and then there's this super enjoyable little loop, and you're so familiar with the area that you're like, oh, this is nice. And now you can go to the top of the bridge and to the bottom of the bridge, and now you can go all the way back, and it's a nice, coherent, perfect thing. It's very satisfying to play. Demon Souls does this very well with the Boletaria Palace gate. With you go through the gate, you go from the left side, you go down, you open up a shortcut so you can get to from like next to the gate. You would otherwise have to go all the way around, so you unlock a shortcut and you can go to the top, and then you go do like a massive circle, you go back, and then you open up the main gate, and then you have a shortcut from the first checkpoint to the boss of the area. It's right in your face, and from there you continue further up through the 1-2 then onward, and then it's more linear, and then you find yourself at the final wall of the game. Dark Souls 3 doesn't really do these like shortcuts that you have in High Wall of Lothric. You have one general, or like one massive shortcut, which is the lift. But the game, it's you have a larger area with like one major shortcut, but you don't do much of backtracking to get like so that you would actually get to enjoy the shortcut into its like fullest. And also Dark Souls 1, you know, you get to this point has been like, you know, praised to death, but anyway, you get to the Undead Parish, the church, and then you meet up with Andre, and then there's the lift. You go down to Firelink Shrine, and you're like, what? It's crazy. But it's so important that like at the stage of the game, Sense Fortress and Firelink Shrine aren't that far away from each other. You can travel the distance by foot, and it will take you like 3 minutes or whatever. It's fine, you know. And then at the end of the time when the time to run from Anor Londo all the way to Firelink Shrine starts to become too long, you get the Lord Vessel, which you can warp between the bonfires. So that's not an issue anymore. And then I love the fact that you cannot use every single bonfire for the first time you get the Lord Vessel, because you have to explore the same areas that you have already been in. You have to explore them again, the rest of the bonfire, and now you can teleport to them. I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much, because now you get to experience the way that your character has evolved and how strong it has become. Very cool. Elden Ring, it has larger sub areas. For example, not Lothric Castle. The Stormvale Castle is the first area that has sort of a shortcut. You get to the you go through the wall into the tower, and now you have a pretty much like a checkpoint at the top of the tower, which you can then spread out to the different areas, and you unlock like a giant lift that takes you to the bottom level. There's like another giant lift that takes you to the very bottom. You don't necessarily have to go there, but it's a secret area anyway. But yeah, there are these like bigger sub areas that have these shortcuts later on, and yeah, they pretty much play like Zelda dungeons with less puzzles. And I guess like the Soul series is not necessarily, they're not puzzles. They're the puzzles that you have to solve in the game are pretty much just that, like you have to cut down like or you have to operate two things to open up a gate so you can go through. That's the extent of the puzzles. Zelda games are like way more like the puzzle nature is actually like way more of a thing. The enemy and boss design is more of a puzzle in Dark Souls games. We'll be getting to that also soon. Right, Elden Ring also, if you look at the checkpoint system, also how it translates to the boss design, is that you can have harder bosses in the game, and more variety of different bosses, and you can expect the player to learn more, because the run backs to the bosses are instant basically in Elden Ring. I find that in Demon's Souls, I enjoyed the aspect a lot that the bosses are not that difficult. The run back from the checkpoint to the boss was sometimes like really annoying, but you get so much healing items that it's completely fine. And the gameplay loop of Demon's Souls is that you inch a little bit always further. You get familiar with the surrounding area. You get better at killing the enemies, and the enemies pretty much always drop some sort of a healing item. So there's a good trade. For your efforts. If you take damage, it's not that big of a deal. And at the end of the game, you will have an abundance of healing items, so it doesn't really matter. It's not necessarily about the difficulty, it's about how engaging the environment is. And pretty much playing through Demon's Souls was like experiencing Dark Souls 1 for the first time, which was so cool. And I think Dark Souls 1 is the best designed, because you only have Estus flasks, and they are so limited that you have to be so meticulous about how you go about, and like there are actual risks. You know, you don't necessarily know where the second checkpoint is, so you do like a Hail Mary run, and then you see like, oh, it's right there, I can do that on my next try. So you do that, you do the push, and then you get to the checkpoint, and then you have like a shortcut, so it's nice, it pays off nicely. But yeah, Demon's Souls is a little bit different. You do these pushes a little bit further away. You have no idea where the next checkpoint is, and very, very early in the game you learn that you will pretty much have to kill something difficult or something like major to gain the next point. So you learn the area, learn how to maneuver it in the way that you will have enough healing wares to get through the boss So it's a little bit more meticulous, and it takes like planning, actual planning. Dark Souls 2, they added the healing stones, and they added them because of or apparently this is how I understand it, is because of the healing stones are supposed to be for the run from the checkpoint to the boss fight, and Estus flasks they heal more, they heal faster, they take more time, so it has to be more calculated. Enemies don't replenish your Estus flask charges, but they will drop the healing stones. What are they called? Are they called healing stones? Anyway. So healing stones are meant for the runs to the boss door, and Estus flask is for the boss. And I appreciate the idea, and I like the idea that Dark Souls 2 tried to do, but it actually just kind of became so that the healing stones are so overpowered that you just spend them in the boss fight, and it's just kind of like fucks up the balance in that way. I find myself buying too many of them, and then I pretty much don't have to worry about Estus flask heals. But yeah, Dark Souls 3, you have set amount of heals, and it kind of goes back to the Dark Souls 1 approach, but the runbacks from checkpoint to the bosses are shorter, way shorter, and in some situations I guess Dark Souls 3 is like a little bit more hardcore with that, so you get a boss rush, or like the run to the boss, and sometimes it's super hard, sometimes it's really easy, and it kind of just gives you like this like a raw, uncut way of dealing with that. There's a cool shield. Let's take this here. This is nice. And Elden Ring, the checkpoints are just like in your face. You don't have to worry about, and the Stakes of Marika design, that if you die to a boss, you can instantly spawn right next to the boss, so you get infinite tries, and they get away with making the bosses way harder, and there's like more variety between them, and there's more to learn from the player perspective. I already touched upon that. Yeah, I think I touched upon the level design pretty much. I want to talk about like architecture of buildings. Dark Souls. Oh, this point, yeah. I found that Elden Ring took parts of Demon Souls and actually fulfilled the vision, and this is like a major point that I want to bring out. Elden Ring and Demon Souls have so many similarities, which is so cool. The inside of the wall in Stormvale Castle, the way that you get on top of the tower, it's the same exact layout that it's in Demon Souls. You're inside the tower. There are these platforms that these guys are throwing fire bombs at you, and you have to go in between the barrels, exploding barrels and whatnot. It's so cool. And then there are these like massive towers that you have to climb up, and ladders and whatnot. It's so nice seeing the original vision of Demon Souls being brought back to life. I also love that the King Alant from Demon Souls is like the OG Storm King. Well, this boss is actually called the Storm King, but he has the power of the wind on his side, and or he uses like wind-based attacks. And then Stormvale Castle, it's called Stormvale, so it's like everything is like very windy, and Godric is pretty much the wind guy. It's very cool how the same elements play in the same way. And that also ties to the design aspect of the games. Why they feel so connected is because they have the same design language. If you see a slug enemy, or like a bush enemy, or like an organic matter enemy, there's a 99% chance that fire will be effective against it. If you see a guy made out of metal, or in a strong or like a bulky guy with a strong armor, he's probably not weak to fire. He's probably weak to lightning or magic. And all the fire based guys in Demon Souls are weak to magic as well. So there's an interesting aspect in that. And then later games gave out the bleed stat and whatnot. So yeah, there's different things to that. Architectural things. Dark Souls 1 is very meticulous about, and also Demon Souls is very meticulous about the way that the structures actually uphold their like actual structural they make sense. You don't build a building and then make the bottom of it just like solid stone and then like a tunnel through it without making the little corridors. I love Dark Souls 1 and 2 and 3 and Elden Ring. Dark Souls 2, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring for making it, all the structures are so meticulously planned. Dark Souls 2 is not that specifically, it doesn't necessarily make like architectural sense every time, and I also love that it's not like that specifically concerned about it, but there's gripes and frustrations with that also, like not focusing on that so much. A little bit on that later. Take the Undead Asylum from Dark Souls 1. It's architecturally, it makes sense. You have the bottom layer, you go through it, there's a courtyard, pretty much all the balconies you see are accessible and you will go through them. You go through the main gate, there's the Asylum Demon drops on your head. You go down to the basement, you go from the side tower to the outside balcony. Then you have a shortcut that you can open and you get to the second level. You plunge the Asylum Demon and then you get out. So the whole building you get to explore. It makes sense. The doors the areas that are inaccessible for a reason, you know? It's just not a solid blob of stone or wall. The Demon Souls equivalent of that, I'd say that like it's pretty much the same exact thing. The Castle of Boletaria, the inside of the walls, everything makes sense. It's also very, very cool that you can vault. You can like jump over small walls in that game, which I think Dark Souls 2 would have had like gotten good use of actually implementing that sort of thing too. So you see like a little ledge, so you can actually like vault through that. So I think also that way, Elden Ring also fulfills the ability to like maneuver your surroundings in that way, which is really cool. With the jumping and whatnot, and then also there's the horse riding thing, which is also so nice. In Demon Souls, you see the corpses or like carcasses of horses all around the Boletaria castle, and you're like, why are there no horse riding enemies? And then Dark Souls 1, there's not a single horse riding enemy. Dark Souls 2, I guess there's the chariot, but whatever, it's like a set piece on a stage. Is there in Dark Souls 3? Not sure. But finally in Elden Ring we get horseback battle, and then you see all of these. The massive major first boss that you see is the Erdtree Knight or Erdtree Sentinel, and it's on a fucking horse, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. So it took them this many years to fulfill the vision of the horseback battle idea. Very cool. Also in Elden Ring, I find so many similarities between, for example, all the caves, the tunnels, Stormvale, the Stone Fang tunnel from Demon Souls. I get the same exact vibes in that area as I get in Elden Ring's the mining, the mines and the caves, the ambience the same, and then also in Liurnia of the Lakes, when you get to the ravine, there's the whole support beam cave mining structure thing on one of the big supports where you get to the uh, Altus plateau you get from the behind anyway. So that's such a specific design aspect that I enjoy, uh, that's shared between both of these games. Um, yeah. What else? Demon Souls, I enjoyed the first iterations of, for example, the catacombs in Shrine of Storms, which this screenshot is taken from. Um, yeah, let's keep this out here. Shrine of Storms is probably my favorite area, and it's so interesting. Um, it has the catacombs. There's the level design took me by surprise by like so many times. There's catacombs. It's a massive grave basically. Um, and I was like, this is catacombs from Dark Souls One, and I gained an immediate appreciation for Dark Souls One's design, design and how they built on the formula uh, of Demon Souls. Um, what else is there? The Valley of Defilement. I like how Dark Souls One um, made the Poison Swamp a little bit more like more condensed, and Blight Town is actually like an actual thing. The Valley of Defilement it feels kind of random in a way, and it's like kind of a sub area before the Poison Swamp, and the culmination of the area is visually and like as a set piece I enjoyed a lot. But I think Blight Town is like way better of a interpretation. The gutter, that's the name of in Dark Souls 2. The gutter I don't enjoy at all. I think it's a mix of the Tomb of the Giants. It's a mix of Blight Town, but it takes all the annoying things. For example, lighting the sconces. It's super dark. It has a cool structure, but it's not that well executed. And I've seen from this YouTube channel, Illusory Wall, I've seen like a comparison of the beta, like on cut content of Dark Souls 2. The gutter used to be like an actual sewer system, more akin to the depths of Dark Souls 1. Yeah. And it's so cool. I'm just so hyped about Demon Souls. Um, I haven't played the remake, and just to preface, I played the original one. Um, yeah, but it's just so cool. I gained so much more appreciation for FromSoft as a studio, how they can take they pretty much like Demon Souls is this like mess of an idea, but it's beautifully executed. But they somehow find a way to make the weakest parts even better with every iteration, um, when there's the correct people working at it. Um, and yeah, the payoff of experiencing um, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, and then playing Demon Souls, you're like, oh my god, like it there's an amazing payoff for investing so much of my time. I love these games. It's so cool. Um, and there's like the idea or the thought is that like I'm so glad that they did this with this idea, how it evolved. Um, let me show you this shield. It's the boss adjudicator. This is like massive eating monster with like a bird on its head. It's so cool. It's so bizarre, but I enjoy that I realized this instantly when I got this shield. I was like, I've seen this before. And in Elden Ring they have this icon shield, and it's pretty much the same composition. You can see the big yellow holy thing emitting some sort of a thing, and there's a character asking for something. Here there's a character asking for the golden dew of the tree. And then here I don't really know what the skeleton is asking of the giant covetous demon. But yeah, this same sorts of design aspects. Here I invaded and the host is falling. Fun picture. The NPC quest. Let's take this here. The NPC quest line of Demon Souls. There's pretty much the Ostrava of Boletaria, which is the first NPC that you come across in the wild, and you don't know it straight away, but he's the son of the King Alant. And I love how Dark Souls 1 made that character into 2 quest lines. And after describing that, let's play a little game here. The game is guess the quest line. Which 2 quest lines were derived from this one character? All right. Ostrava of Boletaria. I think that's his name. His father is the king. He's a knight who requests your help, and he gets stranded multiple times. You save him, and then he's indebted to you, and at the end, he's looking for his meaning in the world, or like his place in the world, and you know, like kind of an existential crisis kind of a guy. And at the end, he tries to go and get rid of the problem, which is his malformed demon of a father, and he dies, and then you will have to avenge his soul, which has turned into a hostile NPC now, so you have to kill him, and then you have to go and kill his father, which is it was so little tangent. It was so hard, like heart-wrenching to know his story, and he got to the very last point. You save him on the escalation to the last boss, to his father, and you talk to him for the last time. He's like huffing and puffing. He's running out of air, and then he gives you a key and gives you the way to kill King Alant, his father. And then he just fucking dies, and you're like, you feel so sad. At least that's how I felt. And then you go up the stairs. There's this long tunnel, and you see a red figure at the end of the bridge of the hallway, and it's Ostrava standing there as a red phantom. He went mad, and he's been summoned as a demon to kill you. So now you're like, now you have to kill him again. And it's I think the lore implication is that his father turned him into a demon. So pretty much now you have to, you know, sad times. Prepare to cry. So okay, the right answer to the game is Solaire and Siegmeyer of Katarina. Here we have a screenshot. Sieglind and Siegmeyer in the Ash Lake. Let me make myself a little smaller. Let's put myself here. Rather, let me put myself here. Okay. The NPC questline, how they evolved. The Siegmeyer is a hero. He came to Lordran to look for adventure and to kind of prove himself. He's undead, so if he dies, he's gonna go hollow and lose his mind. And you save him multiple times, and this really becomes his how do I say this? It becomes his pride will become his downfall. So you save him time and time again, and he gets so frustrated with that he'll gladly risk his own life in order not to become humiliated again by just like a random guy coming to save him. If you do, then and he survives and you save him once again, he will go down to Ash Lake, and his daughter Siegelind will find and kill him and put him out of his misery, because now he has died. He succumbed to his wounds, and now he's gone mad, and his own daughter has had to put him down. So pretty much his pride like drove him away from everything else, and ultimately became the end of him. And Solaire, the Ostrava quest line, I think is or Solaire at some point, I think it is in the lore, or it was like a speculation of or something, but Solaire, it might be the son of Gwyn. I think originally it was meant to be that way, or something along those lines. But Solaire is looking for his own son in a world which pretty much very rarely gets any sunlight. It's super bleak, it's dark, it's full of undead, but he's just like jolly to exist, and he's super naive, and he goes to literally to the depths of hell to find his own son, and that's if you don't save him, he will go mad, and you will pretty much have to put him out of his misery. Yeah, Ostrava is also, he's not necessarily that jolly, but yeah, there's the same sort of vibe to a guy being not really seeing the bigger picture, or kind of living in like a denialism in a way. And it's so cool, the payoff for you killing or saving Solaire in Dark Souls 1 and killing Gwyn with him. The payoff is so cool once you understand that you are taking revenge for Ostrava's fate in Demon Souls. It's the same quest line basically. You find him in tough spots. He's pondering life, and at the end, you battle against great foes with him, and then you get to kill the main enemy, which Ostrava failed to do. In Elden Ring, I love the quest line of Alexander, the warrior jar, and he's pretty much also this like all brave, naive character, which goes, he wants to become more than a jar, and ultimately you will have to save him time and time again, and he cannot take it, so he challenges you, and he's glad to be taken out by a warrior like yourself. So in the end, you will have to battle him to the death, and he's like, his real power comes from the talisman that he gives you, the Shard of Alexander, which actually buffs your Ashes of War, which might be the key to you actually completing the game. So there's cool character design in that way. I forget the name of the character from Demon's Souls, but there's this like mage and apprentice type like dynamic. Also the same dynamic you can find in Dark Souls 1 with Big Hat Logan and his little buddy. But yeah, the younger apprentice is pretty much tells you not to bother the elder mage, and there's this like they're both the scholars of like magic, like dark arts or whatever. So that's cool. I guess Dark Souls 1 makes it like drives it a little bit further with Big Hat Logan going insane and whatnot. Also in Demon's Souls, I found it very cool how it's not a rivalry between Ostrava and the player character, but it's so cool how like a friendship, how you feel like a friendship falls into the darkness from the like effects of demons taking over, and then yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, I noticed that in at least I didn't play online, so I don't I mean okay. Um, I don't think were there any NPC. I don't actually know this if there are any NPC summons in Demon's Souls. I don't think there were. Yeah, I don't think I saw. I would have probably seen at least like one NPC summon that you could have summoned to aid you in boss fights. Um, yeah, let's talk about a little bit of the music. Um, music is such a big thing in these games. Sometimes I wish that Elden Ring didn't have music in some places, but the music has been composed in the way that it um, suits the environments and it actually adds onto the experience. It would be super obnoxious for Dark Souls 1 to have a constant OST playing in the background because the world is so fucking dead that it pretty much makes no sense for there to be uh, like a background music. The boss fights, the more like big orchestra composed epic chants, those add so much like a it's such a big vibe, and such a perfect fit that it just makes sense. I couldn't imagine the boss fights without the music in Dark Souls 1. Demon Souls music approach to music is the same exact um, as um, Dark Souls 1 and 2 and 3. Like they share the same music design, but Demon Souls is way more low key, and it's not as epic. It's not epic at all, pretty much. I love Flame Lurker's music because it's so depressing and so like ominous. Some people have described Demon Souls music as like silly and whatnot, but I don't see it as silly. I see it as like as twisted and a little bit out of like a little bit out of place in some places. They have a bunch of like percussions, like big drums and whatnot, and then just like sometimes an organ playing there, some strings, but the songs are so low key, because what you hear makes such a like the in game sound design has such a big uh, place in how you experience and how you learn the environment. I want to take, for example, the Tower of Latria, the Tower of Hope, that has been it's quite ironic name. It's a prison basically. Look at this! Look at these fools. Um, yeah, it's completely pitch black. This like assortment of towers in like above a swamp or something, and then in the middle, there's like a big tower that has this like a beating heart that's been suspended through uh, with like two big chains. It's such an interesting design, and if there was constant music, the setting of darkness wouldn't necessarily convey the same feeling that it does without any music. You hear the beating heart, and I for some time I thought that the beating heart or the heartbeat was coming from the demons that actually like fly around, the gargoyle demons. But no, it was this massive heart, and despite it being super dark, I didn't find it to be that annoying. I find it actually to be quite enjoyable, but it's such a sinister level. You go from you spawn in the Tower of Hope, or in the Prison of Hope or whatever, and you're inside this massive prison system, and you have to find your way out. You have to free these prisoners. There's a couple people there, um, and then you come across this massive church, and there's the Fool's Idol boss fight, and you didn't think that it could get any darker than like this twisted torture prison system or whatever. So you get to the Tower of Latria, which it's like totally fucked up, and then at the top level, There's the man eater boss fight, which it's scary in and of itself, and then there are these like tentacle um, bell ringing like characters that will impale you with their tongue or whatever, and it's such an ominous and such a scary environment to be in, and yeah, also in the Shrine of Storms, the Reapers and the spirit, the faceless like spirit people that go in the graves. I thought that the environment was like actual peak. Um, Dark Souls 2, you would think that the game is like more dark and more scary than that, but Dark Souls 2 doesn't really give me the same vibes. It doesn't convey itself in the same way. It doesn't feel that like decrepit and that like bleak. If you look at this, like how this scene is composed, it's everything's bright. Everything has this like kind of a pale like flat lighting, and I think the lighting does a lot in these games. And Dark Souls 2, it's like it's more silly and more whimsical. So it's kind of driving its energy from the vibes of Demon Souls in that way. But Demon Souls doesn't. It's not necessarily silly for silly's sake. It's more sinister than silly. But I think Dark Souls 2 is more silly than sinister in that sense. It doesn't convey itself that well. What else? I guess difficulty. I've already talked about that a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about the improvements a little bit. Okay, so the weapon scaling. Here we get a little bit more of the technical side of things. Demon Souls. I know it takes couple playthroughs to really like get your bearings on like where can you find what weapon upgrading materials, and that's fine. That's all well and good, but in Demon Souls I didn't find myself doing any other weapon enchantments other than just the basic. I used the claymore. That's pretty much my favorite weapon. You can't get more classic than that. Just the bastard sword, the basic claymore. And I was like, I made it +5, and I was already so deep into that, like using that weapon and getting used to the moveset and everything, that I was like, and I've already paid so much to have this weapon, and it's very strong, that I don't want to try out any other weapons. There are a couple people that you can buy the upgrading materials from, but they are always in like, for example, Stonefang Tunnel. There's the disgusting, what is it called? Anyway, there's it's like dirty or awful or something, like Stinky Man or something, that sells you the like big amount of the God, I'm finding it hard to speak. The upgrade materials to require to upgrade the weapon. So you have to go out your way, and there's a lot of grinding that you have to do if you want to make like multiple good weapons in Demon Souls. And also that ties in with the inventory system. A little bit on that later. In Dark Souls 1, it's very they cut down a bunch of the different like stones that you need. There's not that many in Dark Souls 1 that you need to level up, and it's super easy to understand. Like the bigger special weapons require twinkling titanite, which is shiny. It's cool. The normal weapons, the steel weapons, just require normal titanite. Special fire ones require green and then red, and then lightning requires green and what does lightning require? I guess it takes There's no yellow Titanite. No. Yeah, it takes Twinkling, I think. And then the blue takes the blue Titanite. The magic weapons take blue. And then everything else takes the white Titanite chunk. The holy and occult. So that's cool. I'll take a sip. Dark Souls 2 pretty much boils it down to just having Twinkling, Dragon. And all of these games have the Dragon Stone upgrade material. Yeah, so there's Twinkling, there's normal Titanite, and then Dragonstone. Oh, and Dark Souls 1 has the Demon Titanite. Not sure if Dark Souls 2 has the Demon Titanite. Dark Souls 3 streamlines it a little bit, and Elden Ring has the best, I think. They have the somber smithing stones and the normal smithing stones, and they get more legendary. I don't mind having like plus, like normal ones all the way up until like plus 10 or whatever. I think that's totally fine, having so many different ones, because the progression it's easier to and it's I think it's like good balance, that you can actually, if you know, you can go to a more difficult area to get like a good upgrade weapon, so that you can get like a plus 10 weapon like pretty much instantly if you wanna fight tougher enemies, or if you know what you're doing. I think it also makes these games like good speed games. Speedrunning is also one of the aspects that like I appreciate when a game is also, if it has good tendency to be a good speedrun game, it's probably good and fun to sorry, it's so itchy. It's probably a good game to experience outside of speedrunning too. Yeah. What else? The inventory system. Demon Souls pretty much has the worst inventory system. The equip load thing, I get what they were going for. It's like a sense of realism, that like that the player character cannot carry like a truckload of stuff with them, but it doesn't matter in these games. I honestly don't think that it matters. And the player character is already like a superhuman in that way, that it's already carrying like you can carry like 200 kilos with you, which is unrealistic as fuck. And then you can like take like thousand, like you can be crushed by a giant like ass, and or like a massive you can be, what normally would split a human like directly in two doesn't really affect the player character. So there's already, it's a video game, it doesn't necessarily matter because we are in a video game land. What else do we have here? So yeah, and I felt I probably missed out on so many cool weapons just because I didn't have the equip load to carry them. So that's also like kind of a thing. I guess it's for the detriment of Demon Souls, but it doesn't ruin the game. It's just a different style of designing. What else? I will make another one of these videos if I come up with more topics or more spots that I didn't cover. I already made pretty much like a 2-hour like first version of this video yesterday, but I just thought that I could make it a better one, a more streamlined one, with actually writing down some bullet points and going through them. Yeah. All right, I guess that's it. I've gone through every single spot. Comment down, what's your favorite Souls-like game, whatnot. All right, thank you guys for watching. See you. Ta-ta.